I think he was a British journalist. He was just trying to prove a point. He flew to America. He flew into Kansas or something to see how quickly he could get a gun as a tourist, as a non-citizen. And I think from when he landed to having the gun in his hand was like 45 minutes.
Nah.
And then I think the guy who sold him the gun was arrested, and then the journalist was told not to come back to the US for 3 months.
Wow. Holy cow.
Yeah.
That would suck. A journalist comes here and gets the dude arrested. I mean, he should have done his job correctly, but still, it's just like, you know, the guy wants a story, and this dude's going to fucking jail because he made a mistake, or I don't know if he did it deliberately or not. But, yeah, and then you go to a country like Switzerland, which you normally associate as being pretty pacifist, and our friend Stefan had to go through a lengthy procedure to not be required to keep a rifle in his house. He had to go through and prove that he was
I think when
a pacifist.
Right, they had like mandatory military service,
right?
And then when you're done with your military service, they give you a rifle to take home in case they need to call you up as like a militia.
It's Switzerland.
And then he said it was a really long process to go through to fill out paperwork, say he was a pacifist, to be able to return the firearm to the government.
And I think there are rules when you have that gun at home, you still have to keep it locked away with the ammo somewhere else locked away. So there's a whole.
Well, the way he describes it, it almost looks like one of those parade rifles. Like it's not. It's almost like the modern equivalent of a musket. It's not something he said like you would go into a liquor store with and buy. It would just be ridiculous if you tried to do that.
I've got a buddy who owns some guns and stuff like that, and he's actually, I think, like probably left-leaning or whatever. I don't know what his political views are, but he invites me out to go shooting, and then I'm always kind of like on the fence about it. Like, I don't know, like I'm always preaching about like I'm not a big fan of guns, but he's offering to do it. And he's like a cool dude. What?
You should go. I think you should learn. I think that's one of the big.
I've been before, but it was before like shit kept happening every fucking month. So
I think you should go and you should learn.
yeah.
Just to see like what the differences are, what the different
Does it make me a hypocrite?
weapons are. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I mean, I own guns. You know, like he owns guns. I was a bit like this. I consider myself to be more left-leaning.
Mm-hmm.
That's just I was raised that way, and I work in creative field, and it's just I tend to lean more left on a lot of issues. So the left tends to focus more on the First Amendment, which is freedom of speech, freedom of religion, but mostly freedom of speech. I mean, freedom of speech is always brought up in the U.S. to fight things like censorship. And so I'm a huge proponent of the First Amendment. That people should be able to say what they want, you know, and voice their opinion whatever they
But hate
want.
speech is included in that.
It is. And that's, to me, it's like that's kind of what you have to deal with. You have to deal with hate speech if you're going to give everybody an even voice. At the same time, I do recognize that when the Founding Fathers were creating freedom of speech, they couldn't envision the internet and global networks of computers that can just create stories and put them out there, and that the machine language and machine learning can create these stories that nobody can tell the difference of what's real and what's not. So, but if you boil that down, that's some person running those computers that has freedom of speech that they then like amplified. You know, I mean, even if you want to take a simple example like spam email, I don't think a guy should be able to send out 800 million emails for no money at all, for like 10 cents. I just think that's a burden on everybody. So in some cases, in this case in particular, I would support limiting free speech in that way to take care of some of these things that, you know, the Founding Fathers couldn't have seen. What I always come back to, though, Gavin, we won't belabor this point too much, hopefully, but I come back to what you're talking about with Japan and what you have to go through to get it. I always come back to in the U.S., I come back always to hand grenades. Everybody knows what a hand grenade is. I feel like everybody, I've never used a hand grenade. Have you used one, Blaine? I feel like I could just use, and most American average citizens could use a hand grenade with no training whatsoever, and probably use it fairly effectively.
Pull the pin out and love it, right?
Well, there's a safety clip. I looked it up. There's a safety clip, and then you pull it out. But I'm pretty sure you can figure out that safety clip.
But the pin, all it's doing is holding the little handle down, right?
Right.
And when
Now
it
it
flings
is,
over, that's the fuses.
But that's when you throw it.
Yeah.
And then the handle pops
and that
off.
flings off.
The lever pops off. And it's we never hear about hand grenade attacks. We just don't hear about them. Like, even in schools, you don't hear about somebody lobbing hand grenades into buildings.
You might hear about improvised, like homemade explosives.
So many explosives, like they have to go out and build them. But the reason why they have to do that is hand grenades are not available for purchase. You have to have a Class 3 firearms license and a special certification in order to buy hand grenades. And I can't help but think that, hey, where's the black market for hand grenades? Where's all the outlaws with hand grenades? Everybody knows what these are. They're very effective. You never hear about a guy walking into a liquor store with a hand grenade because he got it on this very easily accessible black market where only outlaws now have hand grenades. And I can't help but think also, If hand grenades were made completely legal, like shotguns,